Welcome back, Chance.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and thank you for making us your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And folks, we got some positive breaking news today, and that is that Syracuse guard Chance Westry will be available tonight against Colgate. This is according to Syracuse.com's Mike Waters and later confirmed by John Rothstein. That's right, guys. Finally, Chance Westry is expected to be in the lineup tonight for Syracuse basketball. Westry, for some context, was inactive for the season opener against Lemoyne, as well as both exhibition games due to an illness. We're going to talk about what this means for the team, but first, we're going to go over what this means for Chance Westry personally, because I think that's very important, and we're going to set the stage for this. We're going to give the full background here. It's a mini edition of the Locked On Syracuse podcast. So tonight, again, he is expected to be available. I don't know if that means he's going to start or come off the bench. Chances are it's going to be coming off the bench, right? Tonight will hopefully be the very first time that Chance Westry sees live game action since January of 2023 when he was with Auburn. Let's give you all some background, all right? Chance Westry was a high-end 4-star recruit in 2022. He was someone that Syracuse was going after, but ultimately he chose to go to Auburn, but evidently Syracuse never lost a relationship with him. Clearly, we'll get to that in a second. In Chance Westry's freshman year, his true freshman season, he only played in 11 games due to injuries. This is someone who has been snake bitten with injuries ever since stepping foot on a college basketball floor. In those 11 games, he wasn't exactly the greatest player. Westry averaged about 3 points a game. He didn't shoot the ball particularly well. It was about 32%. And he only played about 10 minutes a night. But again, he's a true freshman, and he was on a very, very good Auburn team, and he was dealing with injuries. So you don't know what to really expect from Chance Westry. It's hard to look at those numbers and feel good or bad about it. You kind of have to take that for what it's worth. He's dealing with injuries on a loaded Auburn team, right? He then transfers to Syracuse in the spring of 2023. And I think we all had pretty high hopes for Chance Westry, right? He's going to be healthy for Syracuse. They need some more depth in the backcourt for last season I'm talking about. But he hurts his knee prior to the regular season, and he misses the entire year for Syracuse. And it was a pretty big loss. It was pretty big. Think about their backcourt depth last season. They had Judah Mintz. They had J.J. Starling. And then behind that was Quadir Copeland. So they were pretty good there. They had a good 3. Nobody else after that. And we all know that once Naheem McLeod went down, that this team really had no depth. None. They were basically running on a 6-man rotation, 3 of which were guards. And we'll get into Chance Westry more as a player soon, but he's someone who can play 1 through 3. So he certainly could have helped the Orange last season. Now, prior to this year, right? He's rehabbing, obviously. Months before the year actually started, Coach Adrian Autry said that Westry was going to be a full go. And so I remember doing, I think, a 10 to 15-minute podcast about it. Hey, he certainly raises the ceiling of Syracuse basketball, but you really don't know what to expect from Chance Westry. However, like I mentioned at the top of this mini podcast, he comes down with an illness. He gets sick, I guess, and he misses both of the exhibition games, and he also misses the season opener against Lemoyne. Obviously, tough luck, but the good news is that he is expected to be active tonight against Colgate. It's unclear how many minutes he's actually going to play. I highly doubt he actually starts the game, although that would be pretty cool. It'd be pretty cool if he started, but I don't see that happening. Unclear how many minutes he's going to play. We'll talk about what this means for the team coming up. Hey, Locked On Syracuse fans, it's time to recognize the Roy Player of the Week. So far this season, we've pooled over $20,000 to support players on Roy. Micro deposits lead to massive change with the Roy app. You can direct your support to the athletes you love, ensuring that all funds go to the specific player you choose. Unlike collectives, you know exactly where your support is going, and you even receive exclusive content like personal videos and updates after the season. The best part is it's risk-free. If the athlete transfers or doesn't deliver the content, you get your money back. And this week, I know that Syracuse football lost, but I would be supporting Kyle McCord in this one because he had 390 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions against Boston College. And honestly, he did have that turnover. It was the fumble, but it wasn't his fault. There were 3 players around him when it happened. Some would say that they should have blown the whistle dead, or blown the play dead, but bottom line, it was a fumble. Regardless, I think Kyle McCord had an excellent game. Remember, pay today, celebrate tomorrow. Your support sets your team up for success. Plus, don't miss out on Roy's exciting giveaway. Win 2 tickets to a game this November. Just download Roy, create an account, enter referral code Locked On, and you're entered. Already on Roy, any contribution to an athlete's campaign also gets you entered automatically. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Download Roy now and join the NIL game with no subscriptions and no fees. And be sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Roy_return_on-you for more info. Roy, support the players, change the game. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Syracuse football, I just checked FanDuel this morning. They are now an 8.5-point underdog at Cal. I believe yesterday was 7.5, so the point spread has moved in favor of Cal by 1 point in just one day. Their money line now is plus 235. I believe yesterday might have been plus 210. You think Syracuse can cover, or better yet, pull off the upset? Just go to FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Terrific news for Syracuse basketball and for Chance Westry himself that he is expected to be available in the lineup tonight against Colgate. By the way, Syracuse basketball is playing Colgate at 7 p.m. Eastern tonight, and hopefully Chance Westry will be making his debut. He is going to be available, according to Mike Waters at Syracuse.com. Let's talk about what this means for Syracuse as a team, because on last segment, we talked about what this means personally and his journey to get to this point. Westry could be a vital part of the guard rotation at Syracuse. Before the season, I had on Neil Adler from Inside the Loud House on the podcast, and we discussed the backcourt depth for Syracuse basketball. It's not that they don't have any backcourt depth. They do. They have backcourt depth. But who's the backup point guard? Who is it? That's one hole on the roster without a guy like Chance Westry. In the season opener against Lemoyne, the starting point guard, Jaquan Carlos for Syracuse, had to play 36 minutes. 36 minutes. Now, I get it. He is the starting point guard after all. And he's a decent player. I like Jaquan Carlos. This is no slight against him. But 36 minutes a night for Jaquan Carlos in November? That's a lot of minutes very early on in the season. J.J. Starling, obviously he's a star for Syracuse basketball, right? He's one of the best players on the team. He had to play 38 minutes because when Jaquan Carlos isn't on the floor, J.J. Starling often is on the floor and has to play point guard. You look at Syracuse's backcourt depth right now, guys like Lucas Taylor and Elijah Moore, they're wing players. They are not point guards. They're wings. And I know people might be asking about Kyle Cuffe. What about him? Well, I don't think the staff really loves Kyle Cuffe. And I just look at the amount of minutes or lack thereof that he played against Lemoyne. He played less than a minute. Less than a minute against Lemoyne. I understand it was a close game. He still played less than a minute. You couldn't even give him like a few minutes. Played less than a minute. And he's supposedly the backup point guard without Chance Westry. So with Chance Westry in the lineup, 6'6", he provides a lot of size. He's someone who can play the 1 through 3, and he has been lauded by scouts, coaches, and his teammates about his court vision. So this is someone who, I guess at minimum, you're hoping could be the backup point guard going forward. At minimum, that's what you're hoping for, because he's a mystery box. You really don't know what you're going to get. He was a high-end 4-star recruit, but he's dealt with a lot of injuries, and he's only played in 11 career college games. And in those 11 college games, granted, he was dealing with injuries and on a loaded Auburn team, he wasn't the greatest player in the world. He wasn't setting the world on fire. So you don't know what to expect. At minimum, you're hoping that Chance Westry can be a backup point guard to Jaquan Carlos so that Jaquan Carlos doesn't have to play 36 minutes a night. At maximum, you're hoping that Chance Westry lives up to his recruiting hype and maybe even becomes the starting point guard. And for those that are saying I'm dissing Jaquan Carlos, that's not what I'm doing. I'm just pointing out more good players, the better. More good players is a good problem to have. Think about that. So I'm not sure how many minutes Chance Westry will play, or even I don't even know if he is going to play. But the point is that he is expected to be available, which is a step in the right direction. Sound fair? All right, good. Now, as far as what's coming up on the podcast, well, keep on saying the game tonight. Yes, that's right. There is a Syracuse basketball game tonight. Syracuse plays Colgate at 7 p.m. Eastern inside the Dome, and there will be a full post-game reaction podcast to that one, so stay tuned. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like this video, click that like button. If you really liked it, subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications so you know right away when I am dropping the next podcast, because folks, sometimes there's breaking news, and when there's breaking news, usually I'm going to be on top of it, just like now with Chance Westry, expected to be active tonight against Colgate. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. And everyone, take care.